At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Tax day is coming.
Oh, no.
But if you sign up for Robinhood Gold's IRA with a 3% match, you can get up to $195 for the 2023 tax year.
Oh, yeah.
Sign up at Robinhood.com/boost by tax day to get the biggest contribution match on the market. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Robinhood Financial, LLC, member SIPC.
Welcome to the Dragon's Lair. Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast, your home, all things Dragons RFC and rugby in the region. I'm Jamie, and joining me as always is my co-host Gavin Thomas. How are you doing, Gav?
Yeah, I'm very well, Jamie. It's kind of. We'll talk about the game a little bit, but we didn't disgrace ourselves in France, and I don't want to say there's green shoots, but you can almost see some elements of hope as well. So it's we're going into the new year almost positive.
Yes, I mean it was rather dragonsy how we lost the game, but there is positives to take out of it, as we'll talk about later. Okay, so you can find us on platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, and the Sports Social Network. And if you like what we do, please rate us and leave us a kind review. It really does help the pod. There's a review that we had on Apple Podcasts. We've only had one review, but it's a very nice review, and I like to read it too, because it's pretty cool when you get feedback like this. So this is from Bowboy, and he says this: amazingly in-depth weekly podcast about all things Dragons. If you're like me and listen to all things Welsh rugby, then you know the Dragons are very much underrepresented in the Welsh media. So it's really refreshing to get all the up-to-date news about the Dragons. Keep up the good work, guys. Which is a really nice thing to say, Gav, isn't it? That's a nice review.
Yeah,
and, Yeah, it's nice to know we're not talking into the void. People are listening to us and they're liking what we're doing. So it's all good. It's all good.
The only review we ever got for the horror podcast was, "Can you please stop this immediately?"
Oh no,
that
really?
was the exact words.
Oh, it's a great podcast. I love your horror podcast. You haven't done one for ages, though, have you? You haven't really put one out.
No. Well, we've got 5 to come out, and it's because Grav's very busy with his rugby at the minute, with his rugby podcast.
Yes, yeah, he's a very busy guy. Okay, then. So let's start off. Before we talk about the game, let's start with some news. And we talked about Leon Brown being linked with a move to the English Premiership with Bristol based. That's what the rugby paper reported a couple of weeks ago. There's another Dragons player that's been linked with a move to the English Premiership, and that's Aaron Wainwright. So the rugby paper reporting that Bristol are one of the clubs understood to have spoken to him. Leicester are also believed to have spoken to him. Aaron has won 46 caps and has made 99 appearances for the Dragons, but he could quit because of a cash crisis among the Welsh regions. So that's 2 of our players now that have been linked with moves to the English Premiership. We've spoken about Leon, but if we lost Aaron Wainwright, that would be a huge blow, wouldn't it, Gav?
It's the thing is with that, it's all just it's press stuff, isn't it? I don't know if is it Fissler who's written this report, because
yes,
I wouldn't trust anything he says as far as I could throw a sofa, but it doesn't take a world-class journalist, which he isn't, but it doesn't take a world-class journalist to work out that clubs might be interested in one of the best players in Wales. And the fact there is a financial crisis in Welsh rugby and putting those two things together.
Yeah, I mean, it is worrying though, isn't it? Because Aaron is out of contract, as we know, at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, are we going to have the money to keep him? Because there's something else he mentions in this report. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but what they're saying in the rugby paper is they're saying that a lot of international players are only being offered deals between 60k and 80k in Wales, and while they're looking for starting props at 100k and 130k. I mean, if you're only offering deals between 60 and 80k, they could then double that in England, and it's really worrying, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Do we have the money and resources to keep hold of our best players? So, I think there must be some truth in it, but like you say, it could be press talk, it could be agent talk, but make no mistake, there are clubs who's going to be sniffing around the likes of Aaron Wainwright because he is a world-class player.
Yeah, Wainwright is a clear one, isn't it? He's a top-class back row player. He's got a bit of versatility. He can play anywhere in the back row. Of course, you'd want him at your team.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a real fight to keep hold of him. But I would be gutted to lose Aaron Wainwright, I have to be honest. He has become one of my favourite Dragons players over the years. And, whilst I understand if he was to move, I get it, that's fair enough. New opportunity, more money, I completely appreciate that. But I would still be gutted if it happened. And fingers crossed he doesn't. But perfectly understandable if he did go, Gav, given the current climate in Welsh rugby at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you look at the money you can earn in the French second division, Thomas Francis is earning more than he was at Ospreys. North is earning more than he was at Ospreys. Sam Davis is earning more than he was at Dragons, all playing in the French second division.
Yeah, you got to go where the money is, haven't you? So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. Like I say, could be agent talk, could be paper talk, but no doubt Aaron is going to be a man in demand because he is a quality player. So, he is one of the players we really should be putting out all the stops for, I think,
But do you not think, though, if the crisis is that bad, the WRU are going to have to look at how it's organised, isn't it? And in reality, can Welsh rugby maintain 4 professional clubs operating at that level? In reality, that's the question.
Well, that's a question that's been asked for many years. It's a question that's going to continue to be asked, isn't it? Yeah. I definitely think we need to look at the salary cap because that's going down to 4.5 million next year. And to me, that's just completely, it's ridiculous. I don't know how we expect it to compete on such a measly, salary cap like that. It's just ridiculous. We're way behind the English clubs and the French and the Irish and Scottish clubs as it is. I just think if you reduce the salary cap further, it makes it very difficult to not only keep your best players, but also sign really good players. And there's tough times ahead, isn't there? But it's also very likely that we are going to be losing players that we really don't want to lose. So I think that needs to be looked at. I really do think it needs to be looked at.
Because we won't replace him. How are you going to replace him?
No. He's been a brilliant player for us. He is a Newport boy as well. You want to keep hold of your local talent, and especially when you're as good as Aaron. But we'll just see how it goes. But fingers crossed we can keep him. Okay, got some sad news now, unfortunately. So Newport legend Brian Price, who captained the Black and Ambers to victory over the All Blacks, has died at the age of 86. The forward from Derry, near Bargoed, is one of the all-time Ronnie Parade greats after making 252 appearances for Newport. He played for Cross Keys first, and then he made his Black and Ambers debut at Leicester in April 1960. Price also won 32 caps for Wales, winning the Triple Crown in 1965 and 1968, and he toured Australia and New Zealand with the British Lions in 1966, playing 17 games, including 4 tests. So that was the news that broke last night. That's very sad news, Gav. Fine player, wasn't he, back in the day?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Kind of my dad spoke very highly of him, played against him a number of times, and just said, real hard as nails, but real gent as well.
Yeah.
Not a young man, but it's still a shame, and it's still a shame for the club and the rugby community.
Yeah, absolutely. Our condolences go out to the family and Newport RFC. Yeah, so that's...
Unlike Llanelli, we don't even feel the need to mention that we beat the All Blacks. It's
they didn't beat the All Blacks, did they, Llanelli?
Well, they're very quiet about it, but if you dig deep enough, you'll find out they did do it. Yeah.
Well, they should have said something, shouldn't they?
Yeah. In between naming a beer after it, and the musicals, and the plays, and the TV shows, and the podcasts.
Oh dear. Yeah. Okay. So that's the news wrapped up. Let's get into the game then. Now, I have to confess, I've only seen 2-minute highlights of this on YouTube. I didn't see the game because this was behind a paywall. You had to go on the EPCR website and pay £7 to watch it. So I didn't see it. Besides, I was out anyway on Saturday night. But it was Po 24, Dragons 21. It was last-minute heartbreak for the Dragons as they were edged out right at the last minute. They scored deep at the end there to snatch the win. So Dragons made 9 changes for this game, which later became 10 because of the late withdrawal of Bradley Roberts, and friend of the pod, James Benjamin, started. And to be fair, he took his try really well. So it's a kick-off from Kai Evans. Everyone just sort of stopped for some reason. Poe was sleeping. He grabs it and he just shoots his way straight to the try. It was really good gas from Jumbo, in fairness. So I was pleased to see that. But, the encouraging thing is, we sent a much changed Dragons team, and to push Poe all the way like that at their home ground, and this is a team, Gav, that hasn't lost in the top 14 at home. No. That's very encouraging for me. And this was a team that also had youngsters such as Ewan Rosser, Brody Coughlin, Luke Yendall, Brian Woodman, and George Young. So, there are positives to take out of this game. And it was also good to see the likes of Kai Evans returning, Gonzalo Bertranu, Tane Basham returned, and Rodrigo Martinez as well came off the bench. I have to say, though, I was really disappointed with the tries that we conceded. They were soft tries again, Gav. There was one just on the stroke of half time. There was an overthrown line out. Teddy Garrison, and all he has to do was just to hold on to it for a few seconds so he could have some support in the ruck and to clear the lines. And then for some reason, he just throws this wild sort of pass. They gather it and then they go over the line. And it's just things like that, those errors we talk about, those bad decisions, that really cost and hurt us. But, Kai Evans played well. I think he kicked 11 points from the boot. We scored a lovely driving maul try through George Young. It's always good to see Dragons scoring from a driving maul, isn't it?
He was a 10 as well, wasn't he, Kai Evans?
He was playing a 10, yeah. That's right. So, we come away with a losing bonus point for our efforts. But after the game, Dave Flanagan said, our errors are through the roof, aren't they just, For the 3 tries that we conceded, we were in control of all 3 of them, and we need to be better. And Gonzalo Bertranu also said on the Dragons website, we put in loads of good effort in with a very young team against one of the top teams in France. But we must be smarter in crucial moments of the game. Games last 80 minutes, so we need to make better decisions and be a tough team to beat. See, Gonzo knows, doesn't he? He knows.
And we've been saying that. We've been saying that all season. It's just that lack of decision making.
Yeah, and look, I said this on the Rap Pod last night. I'm getting really tired now of saying the same thing every week with regards to the errors. They're happening every week, and Dave Flanagan is obviously aware of it because he said our errors are through the roof. Gonzo knows about it. He says we need to be smarter. Why do we keep making errors week in, week out? What's it going to take for the players to learn to stop doing these errors? These are professional players. And yet,
it does lack leadership.
You've been saying that a lot as well, haven't you?
Yeah, as well. Because ultimately you need someone who's just going to grab hold of the situation. I think playing Kai at 10 is a good idea. We can play Jordan at fullback and bring Will on, because I don't think Will's in a position to be managing games for 80 minutes.
No.
And we've said this. I like Steph as a player. Is he a captain? I'm not sure.
It's just frustrating though when I do 2 podcasts. I do the Rap Pod and then I come on here then with you when we talk about the Dragons game. And I don't want to be saying every single week about the errors, because it's boring for me to talk about, and it's boring for everyone else to listen to. But we just keep making the same errors week in, week out, and it's really annoying the hell out of me now. It's just so frustrating, and I don't know how they're gonna sort of tidy that up and sort it out.
I don't know how you solve it. I don't.
Yeah.
Where do you get that leadership from? Because we don't have it in that player group, it would appear. And I know we've got a leadership group, but they don't seem to be providing much leadership. That was a game we should have won. But again, we aren't killing games off. Bonus point, I'll take that. But imagine if we'd had two wins.
Oh, that would have put us in a very, very good position. I mean, to be fair, we are still in a good position. So here's the thing. So we're third in the pool. Okay. We know that I think it's 4 out of 6 teams, isn't it, qualify. So we're third in the pool. We're on 6 points. Now, the Sharks are in second. They're on 7 points. And the Cheetahs, to their credit, they're top of the pool. They've won both of their games. They're on 9 points. So we're still in a very good position, with our next game being Zebra away from home. And that's a winnable game. And that's a game we really should win. I know Zebra are improving, and they had a good win against Oyonnax. But that's a game we've got to win. And if we do win that game, we should be more or less in the knockout stages. But we want to guarantee that we get home. Home tie in the last 16. We don't want to be on the road. We want a game at Ronnie Gray for financial reasons, as well as having a better chance to win at home as well. So that's what we want. So I think for me, Gav, it's mixed emotions. Yes, it was a great effort by a young team. They did push a very good team all the way, but it is a missed opportunity, and yet again, it's errors. And that's disappointing for me that we just keep making these errors week in, week out. So it really is mixed emotions for me. But I'm glad we came back with something, because if we came away with this game with nothing, that would have been pretty tough, and it would give us a bit of a mountain to climb. But mixed emotions for me. Proud, but also disappointed, because there's still a loss. There's still an error-prone performance. So,
Ryan Woodman is coming through, and Ryan Woodman seems to be cementing a place for himself in the team, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. On the Dragons website, Luke Yendel gets a very good write-up. So he came on to replace Chris Coleman, who really should be above him in the pecking order. I've said this before. I like Luke Yendel. I know he's young, I know he's raw, but he's a decent scrummager, and I like to see him being given more opportunities. He came on for Coleman, did very well. Won a scrum penalty, was solid in defence apparently. So that's very pleasing, isn't it? And George Young coming off the bench and scoring that try with a driving ball. Ewan Rosser as well is kicking on nicely, isn't he? He's looking the real deal. He's got gas.
The young players are, really starting to. But I think you blood the likes of Luke Yendel and Rosser, whereas Woodman, I would start him right now with our fitness. Have we got a better 6 than him? No, we don't.
We have got Lydiate, but he's just not available at the moment. I mean, he doesn't have much luck with injuries.
No, and then you play Tane at 7, proper 7, play Aaron at 8, and you play Ryan. Harry can cover all 3 positions.
I think next season we'll be seeing a lot more of Ryan Woodman at 6. I think he will be the starting 6, because I'm not sure if Lydiate's still going to be with us.
No.
Next season. He's 36 now. We need to cut the budget. And
I'd select
so
Woodman
far, we
over...
haven't really. You would select him anyway, would you?
I'd select him over Lydiate. No, of what I've seen of him, he does everything I want the 6 to do. He tackles well. He's not disruptive. He's not disruptive at the ruck, but he hits enough rucks for me at 6. But he's got nice hands as well. He plays, his link play is good. And he's got good awareness. He can take himself out into those wide channels, and he's quite difficult to defend out there.
Yeah, he's definitely going to the future. I'm a big fan of his, and I've said he always looks assured, Gav, doesn't he? When I've seen him this season, he's fitted in so well. He hasn't really looked out of place or out of his depth like maybe some youngsters can do. Some youngsters you see at other regions, and even at our own club, you think, oh, you're not quite ready yet. You need a bit more time to settle in. But Woodman. He's physical as well. His defense is really good. So yeah, one for the future there, and his development is particularly pleasing to see. Right, shall we have a look then at the mailbox? We haven't got many comments, but we have been getting some comments. So the Rodney Road Twitter account asks, well, we've literally just answered this, I think. Which of our youngsters have impressed you the most? So we've talked about Ryan Woodman just now.
Yeah.
Is there any other youngsters, Gav, that's impressed you this season?
Done all right in a difficult situation. He's just been chucked in it. And I think he's thrown himself at it. I think Luke Yendel has looked good whenever he's come on. Proper old-fashioned tight head, gives himself a bit of, gets himself around a bit. Yeah, I think it's more about the level of promise. I don't think anyone's really fulfilled it yet. I think Ryan Woodman is the most likely to fulfill that promise. But then when you look at the level of promise, there's Ewan Rosser, there's Harry Ackerman, George Young. They're all coming through, and looking decent players. And it's about do we just blood them? Do we just blood them for this season, and then they'll be ready for next season when we'll have no internationals left anyway?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I agree with all the players you mentioned there. Like we have got very talented youngsters. And it's good to see him being given their opportunity. And like I said, for me, Ryan Woodman has been a huge plus. And I'm also impressed with, as I mentioned earlier, Luke Yendel and Ewan Rosser as well. Harry Ackerman is highly rated by a lot of coaches, especially at the club game. And he's one for the future. And, we have got the likes of Will Reed, and we forget Naira Owen as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They've been around a little while now, haven't they? But they're still very young.
Who are coming through. And I think because of the situation we're in, we're having a blood them. But we've seen with Ryan Woodman, it's having an impact. But he did with Harry Carey as well. He blooded Harry when he was relatively young.
Yeah. Yeah. And we played Jack Dixon when he was 16. Do you remember that?
Yes.
16 years old. Man, it's nuts when you think about it, isn't it?
Can't do that in England. Have to be 17 to play an adult rugby in England.
Yeah, I know. Right, here's another question. This is an interesting one, Gav. This is purely a hypothetical one. But West Country Dragon asks, if there was no salary cap and unlimited funding, I mean, chance would be a fine thing, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
So no salary cap and unlimited funding, who would be the first person you would bring in? So if you could sign any player in the world, basically, who would you bring in to the Dragons?
I wouldn't bring in a player. I would bring in a coach. I would bring in Sean Edwards.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, he would certainly improve our defence, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He would like to think.
Yeah. Player. Well, I'd bring Will Rowlands back.
Will Rowlands, yeah. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I would go for a lock as well. I would go for Eben Etzebeth. If money was no object, I would go for Eben Etzebeth, personally. But yeah, that's a void that we're always going to have, isn't it, with Will Rowlands going, because big bastard locks like that, they don't grow on trees. They're very, very hard to get, and they're very expensive.
You just need a big, horrible bastard at lock, and we don't. Matthew Screech just set record amount or second highest amount of fixtures. Great, lovely bloke. He's really not horrible enough. And that's what you want. Yeah, I will admit Etzebeth is probably a step up from Will Rowlands as well. So yeah,
that would just be my choice. Yeah.
Or Snyman or any of those big horrible South African second rows. They'd all do a job.
I know Snyman's never fit though. He's always bloody injured, isn't he?
Or setting himself for
Leinster now.
Yes.
Set himself for like.
That is an absolute heel move in WWE style, isn't it? And they should have done it full WWE style and not announce it. And then just before kickoff Munster Leinster, music starts up, screens RG Snyman, and he runs out in a Munster shirt and rips her off to reveal a Leinster kit. Properly go for the full heel move.
I mean, if he was a Munster fan, you'd be pretty pissed off about that, because they basically paid to rehab him for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is quite funny that. But yeah, that would be my choice anyway, even Elizabeth. Just get a big bastard gnarly lock in there. And we used to have one of those, of course, Will Rowlands, but
Yes.
sadly, he had to depart us. It's a real shame.
We've had a few of them over the years. I'm not in the same class as well, but Reinhard, big horrible lump of a second row.
Do you remember a lock that we signed called Brandon Nansen?
I remember him being signed. I don't remember a lot of him playing.
No, because he was always injured, that's why. But he was that big sort of bastard lock. Bernard Jackman signed him, and he played some Super Rugby. And he looked like just the player we could have done with at that time. And you're thinking, he played a couple of games where he looked really, really good. But then what happened was two things. First of all, he became a liability because he gave away too many penalties. And then he was always injured. So then we had to let him go. But if he'd stayed fit, he could have been a really good player for us. But, we have tried to sign these enforcer locks, but and props as well. We've signed really good props. But when they come to us, they're either injury prone or they just don't perform. It's
like
really strange, isn't it?
Yes. Johnny McGinty was telling me how good a player he was.
I like Doge for the Dragons, though. You didn't rate Doge, did you? I didn't mind him. He scored tries for us.
Yeah, he didn't do a lot else, though, did he? And, I don't know. I was expecting more. I was expecting more of a work rate, more work in the tight. But then, can I always expect forwards to do all their work in the tight?
Yeah, I wish he was still with us, Doge, because I play him above someone like Chris Coleman, if I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah, okay, so that's that one answered. Richard Idris Jones says, not just the Dragons, but unless there's an increase in the budgets, we'll just have to accept that the top players will leave Welsh Rugby. And if that's the case, we should scrap the cap rule altogether. It's a difficult one because I don't think we should be scrapping the cap. You need some sort of incentive to keep players in Wales. But the other side of the coin is if you can't afford them, then what can you do, isn't it? It's a very tricky situation. We kind of covered it earlier, talking about Aaron Wainwright. But we are just going to have to accept that some of our top players are going to have to leave Wales. It's not just a Dragons thing. There's a lot of good, big name players who have to contract. There's a Wales Online report yesterday. Thomas Williams is out of contract. You got players across all the other regions. Nicky Smith is out of contract. The Ospreys, Kieran Hardy, Johnny McNichol. So we are going to have to accept that some big names are going to move on.
And Johnny McNichol.
And Johnny McNichol, yeah.
Yes.
What did I say? Johnny McGinty?
You did. You said Johnny McNichol. you said Johnny McNichol. You said some big names, and I said and Johnny McNichol.
Oh, I thought they said Johnny McGinty then.
No, you did. Both.
Yeah, I know you're not a fan of his. You're not a fan of
McNichol. No, God, no, I don't see the point of him. If he's the answer, I really don't know what the question is.
Gosh.
But like Scarlets fans, you defend a lot of terrible players. You can't defend him. What did he do? He was never as good as Jonah Holmes, and he was getting in the team over Jonah, and they drove Jonah away. And I'm still upset about that.
I know you are, but I liked it. He was very good in Super Rugby. When he played for the Crusaders, McNichol was really, really good. And I still think he's a decent player. He just can't defend. That's his problem. So he's really good with ball in hand, but he can't tackle the skin off of ice pudding. That's the problem you got with.
I'd look all right in the Crusaders, though, to be honest. I wouldn't. I'm not sure they need a 50-year-old second row, but
Okay, so Dino asks us, is there going to be an Anglo-Welsh League? I'm presuming this is because of the Cardiff and Bath game, which attracted a really big crowd. There was a narrative after that we should have more of these games. So what do you think there, Gav? Anglo-Welsh League? Or would you like to see an Anglo-Welsh League, I suppose? What do you make?
So I'm going to say something now that I have to remind myself an awful lot. It's not 1994 anymore. And in 1994, that is what should have happened. The Welsh team should have gone into an Anglo-Welsh League. That time is long gone. What have we got that England want? Nothing, apart from our players. Well, they can get those anyway. They don't have to play in the same league as us. The only way it happens and this will happen, there'll be a European League.
Yeah.
And we'll go in as part of a package deal with Leinster and Munster. Because the other option, which has been touted, is, we could go into the English Championship. Well, tell you what, I don't think anybody's going to be that bothered about watching Nottingham or Heartbreak College play against Cardiff.
No. I think what these games show us, though, is if you got meaningful games in a meaningful competition, people will turn out for it. And let's not forget, Bath are just down the road. They had a big away contingent. It does help when you have away fans. It massively helps. And in an ideal world, I would love to see an Anglo-Welsh league, but we're not going to get that. What I do think we'll get, and I think we've talked about it on here and on the Rap podcast, there are talks going on right now about a British and Irish league. And I think that's what we're going to get to. I do think that URC isn't going to exist in 5 years' time. I think we're going to get a brand new competition made up of conferences where it'll be British and Irish. And I do expect the South Africans to be in there. I don't know if the Italians will. I'm not sure if they will or not. I mean, they are plans. They said they're talking to South Africa and Italy as well, but it wouldn't surprise me if we sort of cut the Italians and just add British, Irish and South African.
You could see the Italian teams ended up in Pro D2 almost, couldn't you?
Yeah. There was talk about that before, wasn't there? Remember there was a big debate, about kicking the Italians out and putting them over to France. But, I mean, you're not going to kick Benetton out now, though. I mean, look, they are a bloody good team, aren't they, Benetton? They are really, really good, in fairness. They've turned it right around. But, Anglo-Welsh fixtures are good. And, it's a great occasion at the Arms Park. They had a big crowd, fair play. Away support does help. But it is pretty boring now. Every time we play an English club, that we get a decent attendance, there's always that conversation about Anglo-Welsh.
And again, it's thinking it's 1994. It's the same reason I can't drink lots anymore, because it's not 1994 anymore. And that's the problem. But because we offer nothing. The professional game isn't about away fans. It's about what do you bring as a TV deal? What do you bring as this and that and the other? They want the Irish teams because they bring money and they bring a TV audience. They want the South African teams for exactly the same reason.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be nice, though, on the other hand, wouldn't it be nice to think, I'm going to catch a train and go and see Dragons against Gloucester, or
of course
go down the Wreck and see Bath, instead of thinking, I might have to get a plane to go to Dublin and watch Leinster, go to bloody Durban. I mean, it is silly when you think about it, isn't it? It is a little bit silly. As much as I like the URC, it is a bit muddled, and
I'd love it.
It's not good for climate change.
I'd love it if I could jump on a train and get up to London and watch Dragons play at Quins. Or go up to Saracens or wherever and watch Dragons play. I would love that, but there's no reason for it. And I think any British and Irish league won't have 4 Welsh teams in it.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, like I said, I do think that the URC won't exist in 5 years' time, but my guess, my prediction is we'll get a British and Irish league with South African teams in it. And the Italians I don't know about, but I do think there'll be change on the cards. Because as much as I like the URC, I'm not 100% sure if it's really working. And it certainly doesn't satisfy fans in Wales.
No.
They don't want it. They want to see these games against Bath and Gloucester on a regular basis. They want to go to away trips where they can just go on a train, go on a coach and see their teams. That's what the Welsh public crave. So we'll see what happens in the future, because no doubt there will be change. Right then, let's move on to your Gwent Rugby Roundup. So what have you got for us then, Gav? What happened on the weekend?
So fairly full round of league fixtures, starting in the Premiership, where both Ebervale and Newport had big wins. Ebervale beat Carmarthen Quins 54-24 at home, and Newport beat Bridgend 57-27 at Brewery Field. So Llandudno are top, and then Ebervale and Newport are the closest teams to it now. Pontypool have been cut away. Port and Ebervale to win it for Gwent, really. But it's competitive, and Villa are in the semi-finals of Premier Cup as well against Llandovery. So Gwen team's doing well there. In the Championship, Bedwas beat Cardiff Met 21-15. Newbridge lost 18-12 at home against Beddau. Penaltha beat Rumney 23-21. Treorchy 22, Cross Keys 29. So good away win for Cross Keys, who've had a bit of up and down season.
Yep.
In Division 1, local derby between Brimore and Blaenavon, and Brimore won at 22-15. I bet that was a fruity old game. I've watched a few of those games in the past. They can be quite lively. Abergavenny lost 29-14 away to Dowlais, and Talawine beat Monmouth 24-12. And then in Division 2, Blackwood beat Croesakilliog 34-15. In the derby of posh Welsh towns, Killian lost 13-0 at home to Caldicot. Newport High School Old Boys won 30-18 against Ableri Blaen y Gwent. And Ask beat Oakdale 36-20.
All right, there we go. Some interesting matchups. Oh, by the way, the Newport game?
Yes.
When they went to Bridgend. Did you see our backs coach, Matt O'Brien? Did you see his reverse pass?
Yes.
How good was that?
Yeah, it was outrageous.
Because I've been thinking about this a lot, right? And I put it on X as well. We joked about Matt O'Brien starting the 10 for the Dragons out in South Africa.
Yeah.
And there was, rumours going around that they may have to start the backs coach because we didn't have a emergency 10 at the time. I do wonder, could he actually do a job for Dragons in an emergency situation like that? If it was a Rodney parade and we literally had no one to come in at 10, do you think he could actually do a job as a one-off?
I think he
I think he could.
I think he could do a job. He's playing regularly for Newport. And, Will Reid was playing regularly for Newport up until this season. So, it's not a huge reach, is it?
No, absolutely. I do. I think about you all the time. And Newport fans would tell you, yes, he definitely can play for the Dragons. But then they also think Dan Suter is a capable tight end. So I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to trust all the views of the Newport RC supporters. But I do wonder about it. I thought about it a lot. Could he actually do a job? I think he probably could for a game, couldn't he, to step in,
Yeah, he's a decent enough player, isn't he? And like I said, that reverse pass was filthy. I loved that, but
yeah, very impressive. Absolutely,
slightly different, though, isn't he? Doing it in the Welsh Premiership and doing it in regional rugby.
Yes, doing it in the URC, I don't think you can get away with doing stuff like that.
No, against Leinster.
Yeah, oh, no. Absolutely not. But okay, thank you for that then, Gav. So let's move on to Rate the Players playlist. So in case you're wondering about this feature, the Dragons have been asking players to submit 6 songs to the Matchday playlist at Rodney Parade. This week, I feel totally unqualified to talk about these songs because I don't know them at all. I've only listened to a couple of them. I've never heard of them in my life. This is Rio Dyer's playlist. This is the songs he chose for the playlist when we played Oyonnax. And he chose Sitting on Top of the World by Burna Boy, which I have listened to. And it's a sample of another song, I'm sure it is, but I can't figure out what song it is. But it reminds me of a song that's been out before, so it probably is a sample of some sort, isn't it? What do you think of that one, Gav?
I think it's the worst of the choices that he made, personally.
Okay, and then he's got...
I really was like my dad there. My God, I feel like such an old man.
He's got When I See You by Fantasia, and then he's got Carry Out by Timbaland, Justin Timberlake, Confessions by Usher. You like a bit of Usher, Gav, don't you?
I've listened to that Usher album. It's all right.
Yeah,
Confessions is probably the best track on there.
The Weekend Funk Way remix by, what's it, Sa or SZA? I don't know how you pronounce it. I was supposed to be said. Miss Independent by Neo. So yeah, I'm totally out of my depth with these songs. I can't even rate them because this is not my scene at all. I can't relate to these songs whatsoever. It's just not my thing. So, I mean, you've told me you've listened to the songs. You tell me what you make of them then.
Well, the Neo one's fine. It's like kind of pop R&B, which really isn't my bag, but it's well put together. I thought the Burna Boy one is, that's music for 15-year-olds. It is not music for 50-year-olds. The Czar one, yeah, again, is like kind of Afrobeat stuff, which isn't really my area of expertise, but it's all right. It's well put together. The Timbaland one I've heard before, that's good. It's just like pop, hip hop stuff. And, and Usher, if you like kind of that smooth vocal kind of R&B thing, which was very much in vogue about 10 years ago, isn't so much now. He's the best at doing that, So, if you like that, Usher is the very best at doing that thing. It's not for me.
No.
But, I have listened to our album, it's all. But we said this before, like if he's a young mixed race guy, he's unlikely to be picking Creedence Clearwater Revival songs or whatever.
Yeah, he's not going to be listening to Status Quo and Phil Collins, is he, Gav? Let's
No,
be honest.
it's not. And why would he? I always think it's a bit weird when kids say, "Oh, I listen to this," and you think, "Why are you listening to that? You've got all this new music you could be listening to."
Right. Okay. So, what's your rating then of this playlist?
Well, I would give it a 6 out of 10. I think.
Okay, I'm abstaining. I'm not going to give a score because I can't give an opinion on it because it's just not my thing. So
I think they're all good in what they do. It's just I don't really listen to what they do. So it's the
no.
Right. So Jamie, I'm going to spring this on you. It's a Christmas surprise. You get to pick one song for Dragons to come out to. What do they come out to?
Oh, that's put me on the spot. I'm struggling now. I'm really struggling. You put me on the spot now. You should have told me about this question earlier before we recorded. It would have to be a heavy metal one. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I want to say a Metallica song, but I don't want to an obvious one like Enter Sandman. Do you know what I mean? I want I don't know. For Whom the Bell Tolls, something like that.
Oh,
no, the old school 80s.
Oh, that would be an absolute classic to come out to.
Because you think about it, if they play in the night, because the Dragons do a light show sometimes for the night games, you can get the lights going, and the lights are going like that.
Oh, yeah, that would be excellent.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go with Metallica for Whom the Bell Tolls. That would be my one. What about yours then?
Rain in Blood by Slayer, always.
Oh, yes. Didn't think of that, of course. Yeah, brilliant.
Because you've got a do-do again with the drums, and then you've got that insane riff.
Well, last season, the Dragons came out to Motorhead, the game, which was the theme entrance song for Triple H, the wrestler.
Yeah, by Motorhead.
Yeah, a lot of people like that one. And I'm trying to think, now we got Kasabian, Clubfoot.
Yeah.
Which is very sort of Newport County. That's the kind of thing that I expect the county to come out to. But it's I don't like Kasabian, but I don't mind that song.
No, there's a Verve song called "Come On." It's the last track or last but one track on Urban Hymns, and I've always thought that would be a great song to come out to, because it's just massive riffs and Richard Ashcroft bellowing "Come On" a lot.
Yeah. Oh, another one I thought of that would be good, and it's quite sporty. AC/DC, Play Ball. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, I know that one.
Let's play ball. That's got a sporty sort of thing to it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's move on then to the festive derby fixtures that we got coming up. So on Boxing Day, we're playing them lot down the road, Cardiff. Look, we all know about the mental block that Dragons have against Cardiff. Right? What's it now? 16, 17 games in a row. Might even be 18. I don't know. I've lost count now. But
17.
17 losses against Cardiff in a row. Yeah, it's highly embarrassing. It's clear there's a mental block there. As much as Dragons deny it, and as much as Cardiff play it down, there is a clear mental block there. How do we feel about this game then, Gav, going into it?
Well, it's a game we should be targeting to win. We can win it. They're not very good.
But we never do.
We aren't very good.
That's the problem.
No.
We never do.
But we have to we have to just target it. And Dowie has to be saying all the time, it doesn't matter if we're just going to win this game, we're going to do this, we're going to do the basics. And it just has to be over and over again. We're going to do, like the warm-up is barely going to talk about the game. The warm-up will be, this is what we do in this situation. This is what we do in this situation. Play real percentage rugby, not pretty at all. If there's any doubt, put the ball off the pitch. If the ball's in our half, put the ball off the pitch.
Yeah.
And then make sure our execution's good in this end of the pitch.
Yeah. Cardiff really are the media darlings at the moment, aren't they, in the Welsh rugby press? All the talk is about them, when they're youngsters and how well they play. Even when they lose it heavily, it's positive all the time. There's a real buzz about it. I mean, if you read Wales Online, all the youngsters are going to be in the Wales squad. They're all bolters, It's just a little bit silly now, I think.
Can win it, probably is.
Yeah, they've done well considering, because when you think of all the chaos they had before the season, Cardiff are doing better than expected. But what I would say is they've won 2 games all season. They've lost to the Scarlets twice. They've lost to a poor Scarlets team twice. Just lost to the Black Lion. They lost to a pub. So, as much as there's a big buzz around Cardiff, I still feel this is a winnable game. But for me, it's that mental block. Can we get over that mental block? How many errors are we going to make? Can we get over that? It's just very hard to see to predict a Dragons win over Cardiff, because they are just our bogey team. We can't seem to beat them for love nor money. It doesn't matter where we play them. It doesn't matter what team they put out. We talked on the Rat Pod about Scarlets being Cardiff's bogey team. That's just the way it is, isn't it? In sport, you get your bogey teams, but I just can't see us winning at the Arms Park at all. But you're a lot more confident than me then, Gav. You think we can do it?
No, I think we can. I'm not saying we will, but we can. And I think the training just has to be almost, we're not going to mention Cardiff. What we're going to do is just basic stuff over and over again. What do we do in this situation? What's the thing? What's the out every time? And just play really, really basic rugby. But do it well and do it over and over again.
I think that's a good point. We don't do the basics well enough, do we? That's part of our problem. We just get the basics right, and we may have a chance. Hopefully, we'll see the likes of Elliot D, Bradley Roberts return. Are we going to see Leon Brown for this game? Because that would be a big boost. You don't think we will?
Yeah, it would help.
Maybe we'll see him for the Scarlets. We knew that Ollie Griffiths has been held back for this one. So we've rested Aaron Wainwright, we rested Rio, we rested George Knott, we've rested a few players, and we've got players back now. So that's the good news. We've got the likes of Kai Evans back, we got Bertrand back, we got Martinez back, and that's going to help us. I think we'll actually put out a strong squad. I think when the teams get named, I think on paper, our squad is going to look really good. Yeah. But is it going to translate on the field? It's that mental barriers I've already talked about. So what is your prediction then for this game?
Oh, God. I'm going to say Cardiff by 3, 15-12. But it could easily be us by 3.
So my prediction was Cardiff by 10 on the Rat Pod. Which I didn't want to go that high, but I just think it's going to be another disappointing defeat to Cardiff. So, unfortunately, I just can't see us going over that mental. We had a good opportunity at Ronnie Parade, and I know we had injuries at the back row. We didn't have a functioning back row, but that was still a winnable game, even though it's an absolute turgid shit show and the worst atmosphere I've ever been to at the Dragons game. There were moments in that game. We talked about Java Rossa, remember? He couldn't ground down ball. It's just those moments, So that was still a winnable game, and we blew it. And we always seem to blow it against Cardiff for some reason. So, I'm predicting another disappointing defeat to Cardiff there. And then on New Year's Day, we got the Scarlets at Ronnie Parade. This is a much more interesting game. I'm really looking forward to this one, because we always have good games against the Scarlets. I don't know about you. Whenever we play the Scarlets, I always feel like this is a winnable game. It's like when the Ospreys come to town. When the Ospreys come down here to play us, I always feel like we could beat them, and most of the time we do. And that's how I feel about the Scarlets game. I do think this is a winnable game. It'd be interesting to see if we're coming into this on the back of a defeat, which is what I expect, and how are Scarlets going to play against the Ospreys, because they've got the Ospreys first on Boxing Day, then they come down to us. it does feel like we're scrapping it out with the Scarlets to avoid being that worst team in Wales at the moment. And look, the
They're
table
in
doesn't lie.
chaos.
Yeah, but the table doesn't lie. We're rock bottom of the URC, right? And that's fine. And yet I still feel we're a much better team than the Scarlets.
I would agree.
If that makes sense. Even though we are bottom,
No,
I just feel that we are a much better team than because that Black Lion game, Gav. Oh my god, they were terrible, and they got no front five. There's a lack of
no.
confidence there. There's stuff going on behind the scenes. You know, the supporters group are writing letters now to the hierarchy. There's stuff going
I've
on, so
seen that.
they're in a
Yeah.
mess. They're in a hell of a mess, and you would think this is a good opportunity for the Dragons to get a win over them. Well, what have you made of what's going on at the Scarlets then?
I don't. The thing is, it just seems really chaotic, but that chaos seems to have gone onto the field as well. Because against Black Lion, and people, the rugby hipsters will say, "Well, see, I told you they were good." No, no, they're not. They beat a very poor side.
They had no functioning line-out whatsoever, Black Lion. I don't know if you saw that
No,
game. They did not
I
have a
saw
line-out at
highlights.
all.
Saw
Yeah,
highlights.
and they still beat the Scarlets. But my God, they absolutely pummeled the Scarlets in the scrum. They absolutely pummeled them. And that's an area, and this feels weird to say this as a Dragons fan, but target them in the scrum.
Yeah, God,
Especially
yeah.
if we got Martinez back, we got to target the Scarlets up front because they've got a very weak front five. And without Sam Lousy, they're very, very vulnerable. I think if they got Lousy and Fifita back, although Fifita's going off the boil, I think, for me personally, but if they get Lousy back, that'll help transform them a little bit. But they are there to be beaten, the Scarlets. They look very vulnerable.
If we get Barrel and Martinez out against them and just really go for them, just put this scrum under pressure like we did against Ospreys as well, and put this set piece under pressure like we did against Ospreys.
Yeah,
Ospreys helped them getting a player sent off, but I still think we'd have beaten them anyway with 15.
And I would like to see Leon back as well. If he can make one of these games for the festive derby, that'd be really good. Yeah, because I have absolutely no doubt he'll come back, play a game for us, and then he'll get called up for Wales in the Six Nations. Yeah. That's generally how it works, isn't it?
Generally.
We get one game out of him, he gets called up, then the Six Nations is over, he comes back to us, and he's injured. So, let's try and get some rugby out of him while we can, would be my hope. So, okay, what's your prediction for this one then, Gav? Dragons versus Scarlets.
Us by 9. We're going to win 24-13. That's 11. Okay. Yeah, 11.
Okay, I've gone for Dragons by 6. So, that was my prediction on the Rat Pod, and that's what I'm going to say now is Dragons by 6. Yeah, so I've got Dragons to lose against Cardiff by 10 and Dragons to win by 6 in the festive derbies. So, that's where I am with that one. Now, one of the questions we was asked on the Rat Pod, and I thought it'd be good to get your answer to this. So Lee asked us a 3-word review to sum up our team season so far. So he asked me, what's my 3-word review to sum up the Dragons so far this season? So my one was too many errors, which I think sums up the Dragons perfectly. To be honest with you, it's just too many errors. I'm getting bored of talking about it. I'm sick of seeing it. Let's please upskill the players and stop making bad decisions and silly errors. So, Gav, I'm going to ask you now, what is your 3-word review to sum up the Dragon season so far?
I'm beating the same drum I always do, lack of leadership.
The leadership again.
Right, but
okay.
that's not just on field, that's off field as well. Because that's about coaching. Okay. That's about coaching too. It's not just on field. We're not being led effectively off field either. Because the guy's doing all he can, but defensively we are shambolic at times, and our core skills aren't right.
I would love to see us now next season. I want to see the owners get the checkbooks out and start properly investing in a coaching team.
Well, I
want us to. We need a defense coach. I'm not naming names, but I think 1 or 2 coaches now need to be moved on. We need fresh blood, fresh ideas. If it's possible, try and keep Paul Turner. I know that's going to be very difficult. He's under contract at Ampthill and all the rest of it, but I want someone really experienced to work alongside Di. I want an older head figure. So
you want a
we'll
director
have to
rugby
see.
type, don't you? If like
Yes.
you wouldn't get him from Leinster because he's earning a bucket load, but someone like Robin McBride to act as director of rugby over Di Flanagan would be great.
Yeah, it's going to cost money. I know that, but for me, we need to see what the ambition of the owners are. Are they have they bought the Dragons just to keep it going, or are they actually serious about improving and investing? And for me, that starts with coaching. Now, I want to see some action.
Yeah, because when we talked to Tom about Leinster, and he just talked about the coaching setup and about the way it was driven all the way down. But that's how you compete, because there's not more rugby players in Ireland than there are in Wales. No. So what are they doing better than us? Well, coaching is what they're doing better than us.
I said on social media after the Scarlets Black Lion game, I think there's a big debate about Welsh rugby in the current state. I've said it to you as well many times. Coaching is a big part of the problem in Welsh rugby. I don't 100%. Think the coaching is good enough from grassroots right up to the top, and it needs more investment. And the problem that we got in Welsh rugby is a lot of talk about Dwayne Peel now. Scarlets fans want him gone and all the rest of it, but we're not in a position now to be hiring and firing coaches because of the money. No. So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? We want better coaches, but can we afford them? And who comes in? So it's a difficult one for me, but I do feel the coaching changes need to happen next year. For me, a defence coach now, and then fed up hearing bullshit about we got no money. Because I heard it from Di before the takeover, where we've been taken over now. We've got 3 very rich people in charge of the club, so I want to see them put their money where their mouth is and start investing in the pathways and the coaches. There's not too much to ask, is there? I'm not asking us to go out and sign bloody Anton Dupont or Iber Etzebeth. I just want to see some investment in the pathways and coaching.
Yeah, which is realistic. It's a realistic solution to the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay then. So just before we go, just to let you all know that there is a Dragons Christmas quiz on the Wrap YouTube page. So if quizzes are your thing, go on the YouTube page of Wrap and there's a Dragons one. There's also a URC quiz on there and an international rugby quiz. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, then go on YouTube on the Wrap one and you'll see a Dragons. There's 20 questions, I think, of Dragons, just a bit of fun, something to play with your mates. What I will say, and I will make this clear, I did not compose this quiz. This is done by Lee, who's the brains behind Wrap, the main man. So if the answers are incorrect, don't come to me, don't come to Gav, go to Lee. This is his idea. This was his quiz. He did the answers. So if anything's wrong, you go to him and not to us. Okay. I just want to make that clear. That's all. Okay. So it's anything. Hey, now answer the question. Is incorrect. Nothing to do with me. It's all to do with Lee. The other thing is as well, I want to give some shout outs. So I want to thank everybody who's come onto the pod to join us, because we've had some brilliant guests, haven't we? First, a tiny pod like ours, we've had some really good guests. So I want to give a shout out to Dan Hallett from the Dragons Supporters Club, the Dragons Wheelchair Team, Ragnar Landman for joining us, James Benjamin, Jumbo, great to get a current player on the pod. And I know a couple of people have asked me, are we going to get more players on the pod? I'd love to, but it's kind of tricky getting current players on. I'd probably have to go through the club's official channels. I was a bit lucky with Jumbo because we follow each other on Twitter, so I was able to DM him. But I would like to get more players. I love to get the likes of Ashton Hewitt, Real Dyer, and Wainwright if possible, but it's tricky. But I am going to try and see what I could do. Tom Coleman was a great guest, Gav, wasn't he? Very knowledgeable. Yes. We had Adam Hughes, YouTuber Rian Lowe, who was a very funny guy. Sam Lana, of course, the excellent and knowledgeable Sam Lana, and then Colin Jarvis last week. And we've had so many comments about the Colin Jarvis podcast. A lot of people enjoyed that. And it was great for us to get him on. It's a bit surreal seeing one of your favourite players growing up there chatting to you in the car, in his car, wasn't it?
It was just odd. I'm like, my God, this is a bloke I've really admired for decades, and here he is just talking to me normally.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I just want to thank you all for listening, and thanks to all our guests for joining us. And we definitely will try and get some more guests on next year. And we're going to be taking a break now. We have our Christmas break, so we won't be back now till early in the new year. And just to thank you all for listening and thank all our guests. It's been enjoyable, Gav. I know it hasn't been easy at times because we are mainly talking losses rather than wins. And look, I'll be honest with you guys as well. I didn't intend to do a Dragons pod. I wasn't intending to do this pod. So Lee asked me, I was like, no, because I do the rap, and the thought around to talk about Dragons on the rap and on another pod with defeats would it be a bit too much. So I had no intention of doing it. It was only when Gav got in touch with me and said, no, I'll do it. You know, if you want, I'll do a review and we can do it. And then I said, yeah, okay. So I probably wouldn't have done it with anyone else. So we've had a good laugh. We've had great guests. I've really enjoyed doing it. And, you know, we'll continue this next season. And, thank you for your comments, basically. And, you know, we'll try and keep it going and try and get more guests on. But it just makes it easier if the Dragons win, Gav, doesn't it? We have a much better time. So please, if anyone's listening from the Dragons, please just get some more wins. You know, please, because it really does help us on the pod. Oh, that'd be fantastic. I love doing 2 pods in the week then when the Dragons win. I'll happily go on rap. I'll happily come in here and talk victories. But when it's defeat after defeat, it's tricky. Yeah, but I just wanted to say that message at the end. You know, thank you to everyone who's listening and commented. We do enjoy the feedback, and thank you to everyone who's joined us on the pod. And we'll try and get some more guests on next year. There we are then. That's us done now for 2023. We'll be back early next year. Gav, thank you very much for joining me as always. And let's hope that when we come back, we'll be talking about a Dragons victory or 2. But just 1 would be nice, I suppose. 2 would be great, but you know, I'd love to get 2, but at least 1 would be handy, wouldn't it?
It would indeed.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll speak to you in 2024. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Dragons Lair podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question is, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.